Hey there, it's Perry with PapercraftingThreads. Today I have a corner fun fold card for you. Actually, two cards. One landscape, one portrait, but both with all the little things paper pumpkin kit. Let's get started.
First step is cutting a pattern for the corner 3.5 inches by 2 3/4 inches from a piece of scrap paper. I'm using basic white cardstock. Then just line up the opposite corners on your cutting track and cut on the diagonal. Mark the two pattern pieces as shown here. Here's a quick visual on how they're positioned on the card bases. Starting with the landscape card, I placed the pattern in the top left corner and then scored along the hypotenuse or the side across from the 90-degree angle. I turned the card base over and this time put the pattern on the top right corner along the crease and then scored again along the hypotenuse. If your cardstock is thinner than this, you'd only have to score from the front. Next, I prepared the base for the portrait style card. I placed the second pattern on the top left corner and scored again along the hypotenuse. This time I could see the indentations from my score line on the front, so I didn't need the pattern. I just lined up the two little indents from the edges and scored. Next, I folded on the score lines. The diagonal lines scored on the front and the back of the card base are going to be folded as mountain folds. As you finger press these into place, the center score line will automatically fold inwards. Square up the card base by matching the bottom corners. Then use a bone folder to crisp up the fold. And now when you open the card base, you have a mini pop-up. Fold the creases on the portrait style card the same as you did the creases on the landscape card. The cardstock on these bases from the paper pumpkin kit is very thick. Just keep manipulating it gently until it folds. Remember to finger press only until you square up the bottom of the card. Ta-da! Next, I cut apart one of the envelopes from the kit. Just trim off each side seam, then open up the envelope and trim around each seam. I then cut down the largest portion to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Since I need to cut off one corner of this piece, I'm using the card base as a template. Because I'm going to be using my template later on, I mark the two endpoints with a pencil. Then I place the piece on my cutting track and cut. Now there's a nice even border all around my patterned paper. Trim a 1/2 inch off the left side of the triangle piece that was just cut off. I need one more piece of patterned paper for the inside of my card, so again I'm using the template and taking a piece of the leftover envelope, marking with the pencil and cutting along the line. The seam on this piece does not matter as I plan on covering it up. And again, cut a 1/2 inch off of the left-hand side or short side so that the piece has a border around it. Now it's time to decorate. I stamped the sentiment on one of the banners from the kit. I also inked and stamped off the berry image multiple times on the banner. I auditioned the placement of the cherry blossom die cut so that it extend past the fold. Be careful to add your adhesive only to the bottom portion. I made a little nest of flirty flamingo thread and put it behind the banner before I applied it to the front of the card. I adhered the pattern paper to the inside of the card as shown. Since the cherry blossom die cut extended beyond the crease at the bottom, I did a little strategic surgery. portion of the blossom that extends over the mountain fold will not impede the mechanism at all. Apply adhesive only on the bottom half of the die cut. I also adjusted the position of the cherry blossom so that it covered the seam on the patterned paper below. Then I added one of the leaves back in by sliding it underneath the cherry blossom. I added gemstones to the front of the card, and the landscape card is done. For the portrait style card, I stamped dotty images across the bottom of a pre-printed pattern paper. After applying adhesive to the bottom edges, I centered it on the card front so the left corner extended past the fold. I used glue dots to adhere the cherry branch to the front of the card. And again, the glue dots were only placed on one side of the branch. I wrapped black baker's twine around the banner from the kit and popped it up on dimensionals on the front of the card. A few dimensionals behind select cherry blossoms, scattered gems, and a sentiment finish off the front. I cut up an envelope just as I did for the first card to create pattern paper for the inside of this vertical card. I also trimmed up a second die cut cherry branch to fit on the inside mechanism. Which one is your favorite? The landscape card? Or the vertical card? You can find written instructions over on my blog at... Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.